In lesson 410, you're going to learn to play multiplication wrestling. Let's begin with a warm-up. You'll need your whiteboard marker, and of course your math journal. Would you please begin by numbering 1 to 3? Go ahead and write the solution or the answer to these multiplication problems. Pause your video and write down the solution. Number 1, 3 times 7 is 21. 4 times 9 is 36. 9 times 6 is 54. Go ahead and erase your whiteboard. Let's do the same thing, but with extended facts. Number 1 to 3, and write the product. The product is the answer when you multiply. Pause your video and write the product for each of these 3 problems. Number 1, 100 times 90 is, 1 times 9 is 9 with 3 zeros behind it, 9,000. 9 times 8 is 72 with 2 zeros behind it. And 6 times 7 is 42 with 2 zeros. All right, go ahead and erase your whiteboard. It says use each of the numbers 2, 4, 6, and 8 once to fill in the blanks on the left side of the equals on this side to get the largest possible answer. In other words, what 2 numbers could I multiply together to get the largest possible answer? Go ahead and fill it out your whiteboard this way. Don't solve it yet, but what would you put in place of these 4 lines? Go ahead and write it. Pause your video. Well, the 2 most powerful places would be the tens place in each of these numbers. So if I had the 2 largest numbers are 6 and 8. So I want to put those here and then put my 2 smaller numbers here. And let me show you why. In this case, I'm just going to use my calculator, and then we'll work on multiplication in just a little bit. So let's imagine I took 82 times 64. The answer would be 5,248. Now, I'm wondering which one of you maybe said, oh, I'm going to make this 86 and this one 42. Let me just show you the power when the largest numbers are in the tens place, because 86 times 42 is 3,612. Look at that total compared to the 5,248. So doesn't matter. You don't want to make one number the largest. You want to use the tens place or whatever's the largest place value to put the 2 largest digits. Now go ahead and erase your whiteboard, and I'm going to see if you can try this one. Use those same numbers. No, they're different numbers. Sorry. Odd numbers. 3, 5, 7, and 9. Would you set the problem up like this, though? Please create a 2-digit times a 2-digit number so that you have the smallest product. Product means the answer when you multiply. So go ahead and pause the video. Fill this part out. Where would you put those 4 numbers? Pause your video. All right, I would put my smallest digits here. 30-something and 50-something. I'm going to use my calculator. You don't need to solve yet. But 37 times 59 equals 2,183. Now let's imagine that I put 35 here and 79 here. Let me just show you what the answer would be. 35 times 79 equals 2,765. So the power of those tens place are really important when you learn to play this game. All right, let's go ahead and I'm going to model for you the game called Multiplication Wrestling. You won't actually play it today in the lesson, but you'll be playing it in the math small group. In order to play this, you will need the deck of cards. Take out anything greater than 9. So you just want ace, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I drew 4 cards, a 6, a 4, a 3, and a 7. Would you please find this particular page in your game mat and put it inside of your plastic sleeve? What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a 2-digit times a 2-digit number. I'm going to use, think of it like this. I'm going to use 64 times 73. Now, we have been working on extended multiplication facts. So in order to make this a little bit easier, I'm going to think of 64 as 60 plus 4. I'm going to think of 73 as 70 plus 3. Now, what they have to do is each number has to wrestle the other team. So 60 has to be multiplied by 70, and 60 has to be multiplied by 3. So I'm going to write 60 times 70 and 60 times 3. Now, 60 doesn't wrestle itself because they're on the same team. 4 has to wrestle 70, and 4 has to wrestle 3. So it would be 4 times 70 and 4 times 3. Then you will go ahead and you will multiply each of the extended facts, being very careful to line up your numbers. Remember, please make sure you do this when you are playing this with your partner, that you line this up carefully. So 6 times 7 is 42 with 2 zeros. 6 times 3 is 18 with 1 0. So line this up carefully. The zeros in the ones place, the 0 and 8 in the tens, the 2 and the 1 in the hundreds. 4 times 70 is 28, 4 times 7 is 28 with 1 0. Line that up carefully. And 4 times 3 is 12. Now I will line those up and add those. 0 plus 0 plus 0 plus 2 is 2. The tens column, 8 plus 8 is 16 plus 1 is 17. Carry my 1. 1 plus 2 is 3 plus 1 is 4 plus 2 is 6. And bring my 4 straight down. I can check this on a calculator, which is what I want you to do. And I'm going to take 64 times 73 on my calculator, and it does equal 4,672. Then your partner would compare answers. Whoever has the largest product wins that round. Let's try one more hand. Let's imagine I had a 5, a 9, a 2, and a 6. Go ahead and write this on your sheet. Next, what I'm going to do is make a 2-digit number. Think of it as this, a 2-digit number times a 2-digit number. I want to put my largest numbers in the tens place. So I'm going to make 95 times 62. Here are my largest two numbers in the tens place. Next, I am going to use my multiples of 10 And I'm going to think of 95 as 90 plus 5, so I can easily multiply. I'm going to think of 62 as 60 plus 2, and you'll do the same. Next, these two numbers are a team, and these two numbers are a team. Think about when you play in wrestling or any sport, you play the other team. So 90 is going to be multiplied by 60 and by 2. So 90 times 60 and 90 times 2. Then the 5 is going to be multiplied by the 60 and the 2. So 5 times 60 and 5 times 2. Now I go ahead and figure out the extended facts. 9 times 6 is 54 with 2 zeros. 9 times 2 is 18 with 1 0. Line it up carefully. 5 times 6 is 30 with 1 0. And 5 times 2 is 10. Go ahead and add up. 8 plus 1 is 9. 4 plus 1 is 5. Plus 3 is 8. Bring down your 5. And then again, have that calculator in hand. You'll take 95 times 62 and check your work. And yes, I had it correct. The winner of this round is the person with the largest product. All right, so you'll be playing that with your partner in our math small group. But let's go ahead and just review a little bit with decimals on page 133. On journal page 133, it says representing decimals. Record the amount shaded as a decimal and as a fraction. So there are 2 lines there. Let's go ahead and count up. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75. So we would call this one 75 hundredths. And as a decimal, it doesn't matter which one you write first, it would be 75 hundredths. Number 2, let's count that up. Each one is worth 10, each column, 10, 20, 30, 40, 40, and then there are 100 equal squares. So 40 hundredths as a decimal is 40 hundredths. Just to let you know too, 4 tenths would be the same, right? If you just thought of each section being in 10 equal parts, there are 4 out of 10 shaded. And number 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 hundredths. And remember, we need to make sure the 8 ends in the hundredths place. Number 4, fill in the numerators, which is the top part of the fraction, to make equivalent fractions. So here they multiplied by 10 on the bottom, so we multiply by 10 on the top. So 7 tenths is the same as 70 hundredths. Here, just let's look at the opposite direction. They multiplied by 10 by here. What would I multiply by 10 to get 30? 3. Number 6, they multiplied by 10 on the bottom, so we multiply by 10 on the top. 5 times 10 is 50. Here, another way to think about this is they divided by 10, or if you think of the opposite, they multiplied by 10. So let's divide by 10 here. 80 divided by 10 is 8. Again, if you need additional time, go ahead and pause your video to get caught up. Number 8 says use base 10 blocks to help you fill in the blanks. We have a column that we're writing words. Next, we're writing in an expanded form. 3rd column decimal, and the last column as a fraction. So we're going to start with the decimal in 8b. 47 hundredths would be the same as 47 hundredths. first number tells us how many tens. There are 4 tens. The second number tells us how many hundredths. 7 hundredths. And here we would just write 47 hundredths. C, 6 tenths and 2 hundredths is the same as 62 hundredths. As a fraction, it would be 62 over 100 and read as 62 hundredths. And here we would write 62. We have hundredths here, so we just have to copy it. Remember, when we see THS, it means it comes after the decimal. D, 99 hundredths would be 9 tenths and 9 hundredths. As a decimal, it would be 99 hundredths. Write that as a fraction, 99 100ths. E, we have 5 hundredths. Be careful with this one. There are 0 tenths. The 5 has to end in the hundredths place. So in expanded form, it would be 0 tenths, 5 hundredths, and we would write 5 hundredths. And the last 2 problems, we're writing it as a decimal and a fraction. Notice they are all equal. 75 hundredths. And as a fraction, it's 75 over 100. Our denominator tells us how many equal parts. And number 10, 3 hundredths as a decimal. Looks like this. And as a fraction, it's 3 over 100.